Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bitchuation Room podcast live stream. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. Super happy to have you here with us on another Tuesday, or whenever you are listening to this from the future. And I know we don't make it. No, I've learned. I've learned not to expect us making it because it's not going to happen. So anyway, if you are digging this up as the alien life force that you are in the future, and you're like, what does she mean about that? There was this country called the United States, and it was the richest in the world. Rich means you have lots of like paper and metals. Yeah, anyway, and it, even though it was wealthy, it really screwed everything up. It was probably part of the problem. Because sometimes you have too much money. Anyway, it's a long, it's a lot to explain. But if you just watch back the rest of the shows, I feel like you'll understand it. Anyway, please resuscitate me. Thank you. Bye. All right, we have a great show for y'all today. Representative Summer Lee of Pennsylvania is here. That's right. We're going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to bring her in first, get that interview in, get the sitch done, find out what it's like to be the newest member of the squad here, class of 2023. Or 2022. And yeah, and then we were going to have comedian Megan Gailey on as well to talk about an imminent indictment of Donald Trump, a different one than the Georgia case. Okay, what's going on? How close are we? Oh my God. And then we're going to talk about a Republican who, he tried to live his truth on the internet and he got burned. And he's got some splaining to do, especially because he is just a walking contradiction. So we're going to get into Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally and everything that's been going on with him. And finally, Jane Fonda is at it again. And you know what? The right is freaking out. And good for them. I love that, when the left makes a joke, they can't handle it. They can't take it. So what was the joke that she made? And do you agree that she apologize for it? We're going to play PR woman a little bit and see if we can spin this moment that she had on The View. But also, you guys know, now we don't have bonus episodes anymore. We have a bonus show which streams every single Friday on YouTube and Twitch, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. If you catch it live, amazing. If you don't catch it live or you just want it for your little ear holes, become a patron, patreon.com/Bitchuation Room, and you can get that stream, which all the stories I didn't get to, some ridiculous stuff, some tech stuff, some things that it feels like it doesn't fit anywhere in this show, which is so short on time. We get to all that, and by we I mean me. I get to all that on the blessed Friday that is the bonus bish. So patreon.com/Bitchuation Room to get the podcast version and the video version as well, which will be uploaded after the fact. But also, if you're here on YouTube and YouTube's your jam, I'm not going to hate, so become a member. If you become a member, you can also watch back. You get watch back privileges. Also, if you're on Twitch and you're a member, you get watch back privileges. So I see Firestarter Dragon Joe resubscribing, asking if everyone is high right now. I wish. It is raining in LA and it's kind of one of those wake and bake days. Haven't had those in a long time. But bring it back, baby. And Paper Dragon Art resubscribe. Love Fridays. Show the bone. The bone? Oh, the bone, like the bonus bitch. The bone. I was like, what? Am I a shock jock? The bone. What's that one California station that's like 98.9 The Bone? And you're like, all right, calm down. All right. But also, I want you to know, for the patrons, you will get, if you become a patron, I'm holding up a copy of the American Prospect. You will get a subscription to the online edition of the American Prospect, ad-free. So that's coming to your inboxes very, very soon if you're a current patron. But then also, which, by the way, I write the back page of. Here's my latest Human Intelligence. I'm talking about the Republican-run House, and Representative Lee can tell me if I'm correct that there's probably an entire committee dedicated to Hunter Biden's D-pics. So excited to to ask how that's going. But also, you will get a discount code to, if you want the American Prospect in your hands, the paper version, you'll get a 60% off discount code for a subscription to that Left Media, to that magazine. So honestly, y'all, I'm sweetening the pot here. Sweeten the old pot. Because as you know, this is a small, independent labor of love by yours truly and a small team of people who shall not be named right now. No, let's get into it though. Super excited to have her with us. Former Pennsylvania state legislator, dedicated organizer, activist, advocate for social justice, and now Congresswoman from representing Pennsylvania's District 12, Summer Lee. Summer, welcome. I mean, representative, my bad. Oh, God.
Summer's my name. I go by that one.
Summer?
Yep.
All right. Well, there we go then. If we're Summer, hi. So good to have you. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
I'm super fascinated I was so excited about your victory. Can I just tell you, congratulations again, even though it's been a while, been a few months now. Now you've been sworn in finally. There was a little bit of a moment there. It was a week-long will they, won't they moment. But I just want to ask you how it's been. How has it been now that you're in office? How is it working with Republicans who are just defending insurrectionists and white nationalism, for lack of a better term? I mean,
yeah, the Republicans been like that. But you know what? It's funny. Thank you. I am excited that I made it too. It was a rough run for a minute there, all the way up until the second we got sworn in. So obviously really grateful to be here. I've finally taken to telling the truth about just like how I feel. Yeah. And obviously, it's wonderful. It's an incredible honor. But to be quite frank, like I've been saying, like, I feel like I'm treading water, like in a wave pool. Because it's just always, it's like you're trying to keep up. Like a lot of people think that government comes like prepackaged, but it doesn't. Like we start from scratch, and the workload is not smaller because you have no staff, or because you don't have an office yet, or because you don't have a phone, or internet. So we've been doing all that. We've been building all that. It has been a journey. We've been assembling a super dope team. So I'm really, really excited about that. And we're just figuring this place out. And that's how I feel right now. I feel like ready to conquer something and figure something out where the nearest bathroom is.
Right. So you're saying the onboarding is a little rough. This is not like, it's not camp. It is like they pulled out the copper wiring of the office you were in before you got there. Is that what I'm getting?
Camp. I don't think it's camp. It's camp in some ways. But yeah, it's definitely pick your own adventure, like genuinely. And they also don't tell you what your options for adventures are. So you're making up your adventure as you go. And you can change adventures at any point too, I guess.
Right. And you can also kind of sit around and do F all, as I feel like some Republican, freshman legislators have proven, thinking of Lauren Boebert and thinking of Marjorie Greene, who are kind of more in it for their branding exercises. Granted, they did get booted off under Nancy Pelosi of their, committee assignments. But, you can kind of just lay back and not necessarily try to work for the people.
Absolutely. We answer, for us in the House, right? Your employer is your voter. You answer every 2 years. Honestly, like it's more so every 1 year, right? Because we have to run a little bit earlier now. It's a lot of money in politics. So those elections come faster, sooner, harder. But other than that, right? It's not like you have to call off. It's not like there's, FMLA that you have to take when you need some time off or no vacation days. Like you could choose to do anything. You can choose to do nothing, or you can choose to be dedicated. You can choose to be in your district if you want, or, I would say you probably should be, but you could choose to be in your district. You can choose to never go to that place. There are some folks who have islands and they go there, right? And they're there, and that's where they spend their off time.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and I feel like given your organizer background, and obviously given that you have a mission, you're on a mission. And I think I'm so I'm thrilled that you're in office, and of course, I think your district should be thrilled and is thrilled, obviously. You come from a world of organizing, specifically labor, and also working around education. How are you going to apply that to now your time in office? I guess maybe even just policy wise, or like how you approach this fight. I think sometimes progressives, they're like, why don't you go in there and just light it literally on fire immediately, right?
Yeah.
And coming from the world of labor, you can't really do that if you want to win.
Also, just I would never want to set a building on fire that I'm still
Sure.
in.
Sure.
It just doesn't feel like the most practical, approach if you're attempting to survive and liberate. But for me, when I think about organizing, when I say, what my title is, I'm an organizer. Like I don't stop being an organizer. One doesn't stop being an organizer because they are not an elected official. And I think that is a strength. You come in here and you recognize that things move, not just when we have, an organized electorate, but we absolutely have to have an organized electorate. We have to bring new people to the table. We have to engage folks who people have typically, discounted. People have considered that their lived expertise isn't, important enough to consider when we're making legislation or when we're doing whatever it may be doing. But we also have to organize on the inside. Right. We have to move our colleagues at the same time, Democrat and Republican, our own caucus. Right. We have to move the needle on what people believe is possible. Right. We have to bring new people into our project because as progressives, I believe that we have an obligation to create an opt-in and not only an opt-out if we're going to win, because we need more numbers. We need more people. We need those people to be bought in. And we need them to go and make believers of the world also. So that work has to always be happening at the exact same time that we're doing everything else.
That is so crucial. What you just said, we need an opt-in. And I think I'm trying to remember, I believe it was on this very show, but we talked about the ways that if you burn every single bridge rather than build them, if progressivism, is this kind of purity politics only or litmus test only, how are you going to actually build that consensus and gain real power and do what you're trying to do? And I guess maybe on the labor organizing tip, you've co-sponsored the reintroduction of the PRO Act. What are your thoughts right now, given how active new labor movements are, and also given this kind of major hit that came down from the Biden administration on the railway workers, which happened right just before this derailment of the Norfolk Southern toxic rail?
Yeah, we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth with labor. Again, this is always an exercise in recalibration and accountability, right? It's easy to say, that we support people, but when we actually understand what solidarity means and the why behind solidarity, right? The why we needed to support those rail workers, right? Who are a part of, one of the wealthiest industries, in this country. If they can't even get paid sick and family leave, right? If they can't sound the alarm about, unsafe working conditions, then we're in a world of problems. But our labor movement is under attack. It's always under attack, but it's also growing in new ways, right? It's growing in a sense that it's becoming more reflective of our workforce. So we're seeing growing labor movements in Amazon, right? We see that the successes in Amazon and the challenges there, right? We see the successes like in Pittsburgh, we have, our coffee workers who have been unionized in Starbucks and our coffee tree workers. But also in Pittsburgh, we have, our magazine, our newspaper, owner family that's now, blocking our workers from negotiations. They've been on a picket line for months and months and months because they can't get, health care, right? And one of the workers just got attacked. So there's been an escalation. So right now, more than ever, we need Democrats. We need people who are friends of labor to put their money where the mouth is, because we have to support our labor movement. We don't get the progressive policies that we're fighting for. Medicare for all, Green New Deal, housing justice, workers' rights. We get none of that if we don't also have a robust labor movement that looks like our workforce at the same time. So we have to see these as hand in hand, right? Our struggles are intertwined here.
Absolutely. What do you make of this, sort of right-wing faux populism? After the derailment, they were trying to, you got Trump going to East Palestine, and you got Marjorie Greene, and all these other Republicans trying to, we got to have a committee, we got to have a hearing, we need to, and then it kind of all fizzled out when you actually talk about real regulations. Do you think they are successfully capturing a lane that other Democrats have kind of let go of? Meaning, do you know what I'm saying? Democratic leadership have not actually spoken to some of these, honestly, like working class issues and issues around like communities have been left behind. What are your thoughts on that whole thing?
Yeah. So let me say, it could be yes and no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In a real sense, the Republicans absolutely have captured a lane that Democrats don't. Or that's why they exist today. That's why their base is not shrinking, but in essence, growing more emboldened and more empowered. But also, their advocacy is disingenuous. And the work that Democrats have to do is in not playing to that, not legitimizing them when we know who they are, right? A wiser person than me said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. So we know that they don't care about the people of East Palestine, because if they cared about them, they wouldn't have supported the deregulation in the first place. If they supported, workers, they wouldn't bust their unions, and they wouldn't erode their protections and their rights. So we know that Republicans are going to talk out of both sides of their mouth. They're going to do it successfully because they're performance artists. So what we have to be adept at is presenting the very clear case for why we can't, fall for that smokescreen. We have to put up regulations where there are deregulations. We have to show up right where there are gaps, and we have to be responsive. But also, we have to help people recognize that the Republican Party of today means what they say, and that's why we are where we are today.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you also about, you mentioned a little bit about money in politics. It's always this sort of chicken or the egg thing, because, once folks get into positions of power, no matter how they got in there, like there's the appetite, especially as you're saying, you got a campaign pretty much every other year. The appetite for campaign finance reform is very, very low, I imagine, coming from inside the halls of Congress. But you, as someone who didn't take corporate PAC money, but had a lot thrown against your campaign, I guess just thoughts on like, we talked on this show a little bit about not just the Israeli lobby, but also crypto lobby and all the ways that kind of like Democrats and Republicans are continuing to kind of take this money no matter who's offering it. What are your thoughts now that you're on the inside about this issue?
I have way too many thoughts. Listen,
yeah, go.
First of all, let's keep it real. I'm an endangered species. People like me, working class back candidates that come in, particularly marginalized progressive candidates that come in, we're endangered because campaign finance reform is that big of a threat. It is that big of a threat. We need to be very honest about, the influence of money in politics. We think about it just when it comes to the election cycle itself. But no, right now, the number one marker of success for a politician is not going to be, more often than not, I'm going to say always, but more often than not, it's not if they're prodigious. It's not that they're brilliant or talented legislators. It's not that they're great consensus builder. It's that they have the biggest ability to raise money, because we are always being hit up for money, because whether or not you get an opponent or not is about whether or not you raise money. How hard that opponent goes is whether or not you raise money. And because these campaigns move faster, there's more money involved. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars are coming in one seat at a time, right? Yeah. Every year we exceed records for how much is spent on an individual campaign and overall on all campaigns. So what that does is it erodes the power that working class people have, that grassroots people have, that everyday voters have, because we cannot compete. Yeah. Because grassroots donors cannot compete with IEs that can drop $1 million like they're at the candy store, right? So it's a big threat. We have to see this as a part of democracy reform. If we want a reflective democracy, then we have to be very honest about the barriers to having that. Poor candidates, working class candidates, Black and brown candidates, indigenous candidates, queer candidates, marginalized candidates can't often access the ballot in the first place because we don't have a Rolodex that we can go to raise $1 million in a month. Right. Or in some cases a day, right? And if we can't compete on that, then that means we can't get a seat. That means that we don't have a voice, right? That means that we are disenfranchised functionally. So it is a huge, huge, huge stress, not just to progressive policies, but it's going to trickle down. It's not just going to impact progressives. And some people are happy to take money or to let money exist as long as it's against their enemy, if it's progressives or conservatives. But one day this will erode democracy as a whole, because it's disempowering, disenfranchising all of America.
Yes. Yeah. And to say nothing of taking the time off to be able to campaign, right? Like, even as someone who was not in office or someone who is in office, it's like you should be have time to do a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, as a constituent, I would want my legislator to spend more time working for me and less time having to fundraise to keep their seat. Right.
And we would like that. And we would absolutely like that. I cannot tell you how many just everyday people are like, why do you still need to fundraise? Like, and they get mad. But what they don't understand also is like, if you don't take corporate PAC money, then you have to spend the whole year getting to $1 million, right? Totally. Because we can't raise $1 million as quickly as other people. But people don't really realize that.
Right. Absolutely. Well, look, I will gladly accept a text message from you, but as long as it's not Nancy going, Francesca, please. Yeah.
If you don't donate right now,
if you do not do
it's over.
Okay, so now that you're in office, I'm ping-ponging a little bit, but you are on a couple committees. You've got the Oversight and Accountability Committee and the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. So is the moon base going to happen, Summer? Is that?
Listen, I can't speak too much about the things that I know.
Wow. Okay. So you've seen the UFO files, the Chinese balloon, as it were. We're breaking news here.
No, I'm joking. We got no such thing. Science, space, and technology. Honestly, we're on like the research end. We could talk about, whether or not funding that's coming down for that innovation, that tech work, that STEM work is going to be equitable, right? We can make sure that there are, stipulations attached to those dollars, that we are creating programs where women and, Black and brown folks can actually avail themselves of the, this growing economy. But also, then we get some cool stuff. Pittsburgh is going to the moon, apparently. Like I just found out.
What?
Yeah, we're going to the moon. Like we're gonna send a rover up to the moon. It's being built right here in Pittsburgh. Mission Control. You know they say Houston, we have a problem. Well, they're gonna say Pittsburgh, we don't have a problem. Mission Control is gonna be here in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is all good. That's funny. I like the idea of Pittsburgh just going to the moon, though. Like the entire.
The whole entire city.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done. We've had enough of this.
Yeah, we've had it. No, that. I mean, part of that, it's not a lightweight assignment. Like Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and then number 2 or 3, whomever, like Bezos, their corporations have received federal dollars.
Yes.
For what? For them to have rockets to take rich people up to see like their handiwork from space.
Yes, precisely that. And honestly, the small employee-owned company that's building that rover right now here in Pittsburgh, they're competing precisely with, Elon Musk and Bezos.
Wow.
Right. And the fact that they were able to do this is really a testament to their hustle, right? And to their vision, because, right, they're crushing the market. So that was also another reason why I was all in, right? Because I was like, well, look, if you're fighting, you're fighting a good fight, then let's do this, right? Because, we love employee owned, we love equitable, and we love local.
That's incredible. I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't know it was possible as a small company to actually win a contract like that.
Shout out to them.
Hell yeah. Wait, say that again, because I think Astrobotics. Amazing. I do want to talk to you about, we're coming out, I guess this is year 3 of the pandemic. Yay. Saddest sparkler ever. It has been declared not an emergency anymore, effectively. Republicans have no appetite to pass any kind of legislation that's actually going to, even prevent another pandemic or say offer the vaccine for free, right? And now a lot of the things like expanded SNAP benefits are expiring, and we're going backwards. We're going back to a state we were before this pandemic, and maybe even a worse place. I guess I just wanted your thoughts on, moving forward in this moment. Like, what moment are we in where like working people are being hung out to dry after giving a mini taste of what a sort of a social safety net could look like?
Yeah, everybody wanted to get back to normal, right? And what we know about that normal was a state where poor working class people particularly Black and brown folks, indigenous folks, queer and trans folks were just left to fend for themselves, right? That is the normal. And what we got, for a small glimpse in the beginning of that pandemic was this realization that what we do to the most marginalized, we will eventually revisit the rest, right? And they were kind of experiencing that moment of like those chickens coming home to roost because of those pre-existing inequities, right? They created pre-existing conditions that led to the pandemic, basically running rampant through our communities. It's the reason why we couldn't, do anything about the curve, because we didn't have paid sick and family leave. How many American workers went to work sick, right? Who could have otherwise stayed home and protected themselves and their neighbors, right? Well, we couldn't do that. We couldn't do that because of these policies that eroded that social safety net, those policies that took away and stripped dignity of working class people. And us going back to that, right, is really unfortunate. But to be completely honest, we barely did much to mitigate it during the pandemic, right? We had a global pandemic and we still don't have paid family leave.
I can't, I got a 5-month-old and it is just blowing my mind how much work this is. We
don't have healthcare for all.
No, it's laughable. And I feel I kind of hate it here. Speaking of, like, I want to go on the rover. Let's go to the moon. I feel like it might be chiller over there.
I'll connect you.
Astrobotics, holler. They need a podcast on that rover or what? So I do want to ask you then about, like, we're in a moment right now where we have this bank, Silicon Valley Bank was just bailed out. It's not a bailout, according to the Biden administration, according to the Fed. Depositors are going to be made whole, even though they are the ones who took out the risk anyway. But that is sort of in tandem with the reality that, like, we can't even get across the finish line with student debt relief, right? That even the $10,000 that was proposed by this administration is being blocked at this point, and we're at this standstill. From inside Congress, is this like open hypocrisy? Does that resonate with anyone else other than yourself and like the squad members, or are you just all just on a text chain? Like, what the hell? Yeah.
So students are used to, and this is not a good thing, right? But students are used to being discarded. We're used to that hypocrisy, right? There before the bank, right? Before this particular bank, right? A lot of students who came out, of college with, obscene amounts of loan debt, we came out in the first, the first bank collapse.
Yep.
But what we see is that when you're a corporation, when you're an airline, when you're a bank, you'll get a bailout. But if you're a working class person, you don't. And the fights that we get, right? The pushback that we get for asking for basic dignity in the wealthiest country on earth, really just shows our priorities. Because people like to pretend, particularly Republicans, that, like, right, these students are asking for something, special. And not that we're asking our nation to prioritize our education system, our future, at the same time that we are in one of my committees talking about how are we going to compete with China, on innovation, right? Well, perhaps if we educate people, perhaps if we fix our immigration system, right? If we do these things, like, we are sending a message to the global community that the United States does not value education. It does not value healthcare, which means that we don't think about and we are not considering the future of our country because of those things. We are not just complaining about, we took out a loan, pay your bills, in the middle of a debt ceiling crisis, right? Pay your bills. But it's not just that, right? It's the interest rates that are set by the federal government. It's the fact that we can't file for bankruptcy. Unlike every risky business owner, I took my first loan out at 17. At 17 years old, I could not have my own bank account without my mom's name on it. And I couldn't do one of my final projects, my freshman year, because I wasn't 18 yet. I needed parental consent for that. But I did not need parental consent for taking out a lifelong amount of debt.
Wow. Right there. Can't rent a car, but here, take out, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. No.
When you pay it will never go down, right? I've been paying my loans consistently, particularly since I got my job in the state house. I pay every month. That number has only gone up. The figure has gone up. Explain to me how students, and this is millions of people who are impacted, not just the students, their families, their next generation who will be impacted by that. Explain to us how we're not supposed to be discouraged by the lack of support, by the lack of understanding, by the lack of any sort of, of lift up, of boost.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I mean, I think this is precisely what you're saying, and why working class candidates and marginalized candidates, Black and brown folks, need to be in positions of power, so that you share something with the tens of millions of Americans who have student loan debt, right? So we feel represented, to the people who at one point were homeless, and the ways that, you saw Representative Cori Bush on the steps of
Yep.
Congress, like for, in protest of the eviction moratorium going away. So I think I want to ask you about this Progressive Caucus, right? Are you part of the Progressive Caucus? I assume you are.
I am, yeah.
Right. So Progressive Caucus, and in the spirit of opting in to some of these policies, winning people over to ideas like Medicare for all, Green New Deal, all the ideas that, that we believe in. Then you have people like Hakeem Jeffries, Speaker of the Minority Leader of the Democrats, who also fancies himself a progressive. You have someone like Andrew Cuomo, who just today launched a Progressives for Israel organization. There's a lot of people running around with the name progressive who seem like the number one community, the number one people they like to take aim at are actual progressives. Hakeem Jeffries has said things like AOC and the Squad are like influencers. We don't, some of us, it's not a popularity contest. How do you grapple with that kind of infighting, especially when you see the other side, which are just in this, like, again, scary goose lockstep?
Yeah, I am not somebody who believes that tension is inherently bad. I think that growth comes from tension. I think that it's okay to question things that you don't understand. And the reality is that for progressives, for our particular brand of progressive, which is not just our policies, it's our politics, it's how we move throughout the political arena. It's who we're moving with in the political arena. All of those things are new for an entire generations of politicians who had never believed or conceived that one could move this way and even get elected. And then could not conceive that one could use the tools that progressives use, right? Tools that typically did not exist to politicians that are now equalizers, right? Where you had to rely on a lot of money to reach people by ads and by, filthy rich consultants, right? We now have social media, we have podcasts, we have all of these different things that we can go straight to the people with. We can organize, we have new tools. These are brand new to them, right? And they're trying to figure these things out in real time. And there are going to be missteps along the way. What we are trying to do and what we should need to convince people of, particularly people who say that they align with progressive, is to say, listen, well, if you do believe that all kids deserve a good education, irrespective of the zip code, or everybody deserves health care, or everybody should breathe clean air and clean water, then we need you to bring your politics up with your policies. And then we're going to help them get there. Because if we don't help them get there, we're not getting it, right? We're just not going to get it because we are already in the minority. So we got these 2 years and we need to move more souls.
Yeah. I think that's a really good outlook. I guess final question, and it has to do with campaign finance reform, because I feel like we just, we sort of move past it quickly. To what you're saying, that like, I mean, from candidates I've spoken to, people and on campaigns that I've spoken to, it's like, this is all fine and good, knocking doors, getting out, small dollar donations, you especially when you can use that to galvanize others and say, look, we are not taking corporate money and all that. But at the end of the day, you need the ad buys. And you had that spent against you in huge sums of money. So can the grassroots ever truly compete unless we get rid of big money in politics, unless we make dark money also, and things like dark money, illegal?
So yes and no, right? The reality, look, we can absolutely compete, and we should be competing at the local level every single election cycle, right? There are no off years. There are two elections a year, every single year, a primary and a general, right? In those instances where you are at the hyper local level, you're running for school board or sometimes borough council or city council, magistrate, so many of these races where you have, a more containable number of constituents, you absolutely can knock those doors.
Sure.
They can spend obscene amounts of money, and the media market is untenable in the media market, right? They can put money in this and they're blowing money, right? Because they're not spending it well. We've seen that often, people who have a lot of money but don't spend it well. You can spend your money on a field campaign, and you can have people who can actually touch every single voter in your district and smaller districts. When we get to the bigger races, congressional, but particularly governor, statewide, president. Yeah, it's going to be a little harder to knock your way through that one. Right. It's just bigger. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't knock. It doesn't mean you shouldn't show up. But it does mean that, progressives, we got to go on TV, right? We got to go on the radio. We got to do digital. We got to do social media. We have to use every tool in the toolbox. That also means we got to be disciplined about our donating, right? Republicans, mainstream folks, they get a quicker return on investment, in their opinion, right? You donate this $1 million, you get a deregulation tomorrow.
Yes.
Right? With progressives, it doesn't feel like that instant gratification, because we're unraveling things, right? We're dismantling, we are rebuilding things, and that work takes longer. So it's harder to convince a grassroots donor that, you're $25 and you're a working class person. That $25 is going to one day lead us to a better society, because, right, we're going to replace those folks who don't represent us with people who do, right? It's hard to sell, but it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just hold a gala for Mr. Burns and make a ton of money the next day if you hide a toxic spill. I don't know. Everything just feels so Simpsons-like lately, and I'm not even one of those people.
No, you're not wrong though. We're not going to be able to compete. It's not sustainable. And that's the reason why they've been honing their skills, right? For the last 5 years, we've had a bit of an advantage because we came from behind. We had people, particularly, we've seen this. It wasn't just a squad. It was literally women of color running at every level of government who were coming in. They were going up against incumbents who were out of touch. They were going up against big money, and they were winning out of nowhere seemingly. And the establishment could not figure that out. Right. What they are figuring out now are ways to combat. What we saw in my election and the ones at the same time is a blueprint for what they can do to damage, progressives. They're in that earnest.
Why do you think they lost? Why do you think they lost in your case and they won in others? Is it just because you were that great? But I mean, and I
great. No, it's because I had a lot of help. Right. I've been organizing, a lockstep with, our movement community, our labor community, our progressive community in Pittsburgh for years. And I already ran, and we've been doing work, and we have been helping to empower and expand the electorate in ways that got us a head start. When that money came in, we took a big hit. The ads were all, she's not a real Democrat. She hates Joe Biden. She's going to tear up the world. They were all terrible, terrible things that they were saying, distortions. Yeah. And they were honest, and they worked. But we also had people on our outside come in, Justice Democrats, Working Families Party, the Progressive Caucus, right? The environmental community, right? Whether it be legal conservation voters, so many in those communities galvanized around me. And we were able to very quickly not match what they were doing, but we were able to stop the bleeding, right? You can't get outspent 10-1 and expect to win.
Right.
Not in a normal case.
Right. So, right. But because of obviously your history, because of your former position, and it's the building deep, as they say. I don't know. I think that's the term. I'm not an actual organizer, but I admire them. And it's what is it? Anyway, deep roots. That's all I have to say. Representative Lee, you're such an inspiration. I'm so excited for your this term and for many, 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 many more. And tell people how they can get involved with you and your campaigning, and also just follow your work.
Yeah. Obviously, you can always follow us on them socials, right? I'm Summer for PA, SUMMER, 4 spelled out, FORPA. On Twitter, my official, if you want to know what we're doing on the legislative side, I believe is Rep Summer Lee. You can always follow us there. You can go to our website, summerforpa.com, and just keep up with us. We got folks who are on the ground. We are always organizing. So if you want to organize and you're in Western Pennsylvania, call us. If you want to organize and you're not in Western Pennsylvania, that work is still important because we still need folks all over to help us to expand the electorate.
Can I just say on a really shallow note? And donate. Exactly. On a super shallow note, your congressional photo is so cute. You look so good. It's just amazing. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway.
I appreciate that.
No, super. Oh my God. With the plaid and the earrings. And anyway, all right. Summer Lee, Representative Lee, you're wonderful. Please come back. Thank you for gracing us with your presence and your time. And everyone, do all the things. Follow, get involved, donate, and take very good care. Until next time. I am sweating with excitement. That was exciting. I do think there's still a moon base. I feel like she left that one hanging. All right. Well, let's get into everything that's going on. You guys, we got to get our bitch caps on. You're going to get your bitch caps on. I'm going to get my bitch caps on. Let's start the show with what are you bitching about? I sort of alluded to this in my interview with Representative Lee, but I am bitching about Mr. Andrew Cuomo, the Italian. We were so close to being not creeps. We were so close. No, we were not. We were very, very far. Mr. Andrew Cuomo, disgraced former governor of New York. There was a little bit of nursing home death cover-ups. There was a little bit of, handsy-mansiness. But, that's the Italian, right? We kiss. This is what we do. No, so Andrew Cuomo has emerged from hiding, and he's shilling for new people, y'all. He's found his thing. I'm very sad that my husband, Matt Lieb, can't be on this because we would have had a very, very fun time talking about this. But we also have a baby and someone's got to make sure that she's still alive. But Andrew Cuomo is, he's got a new calling, guys. It came to him. It came to him in the night on a Shabbat, if you will. He is starting a new organization called Progressives for Israel. And here he is shaming all of us, asking us, which side do we stand on?
It's time for our officials to condemn anti-Semitism, not just with their words, but with their actions. You can't denounce anti-Semitism, but waver on Israel's right to exist and defend itself. I'm starting an organization called Progressives for Israel, and I'm going to call the question for Democrats. Do you stand with Israel, or do you stand against Israel? Because silence is not an option. My friends, never again is not a prayer. It is a call to action. It is not passive. It is active. It will never happen again because we will never allow it to happen again. And we will do it together. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Cuomo. Okay, so never again, obviously in reference to the Holocaust. So you can only imagine that this Progressives for Israel that stands against anti-Semitism is going to go after all of the anti-Semites in Congress, like Marjorie Jewish Space Laser Green, right? Like Paul Gosar, who speaks at the America First PAC with that, fucking whatever that dude influencer name is. It's gonna be an anti-Kanye West PAC. Are we gonna call that out? Are we gonna burn Yeezy shoes en masse? No. We're not gonna do any of that. This is money that came from not defeating people like Representative Summer Lee, being like, all right, where do we put this money? I know, Cuomo. And Cuomo's like, I need 10 million just to get out of bed. Okay. 50 million, I'll do a video on an old iPhone for you. And so he's doing it. He's starting progressives for Israel. And exactly right. You know what's going to happen. It's going to be running ads against people like Ilhan Omar, Representative Omar, Representative Rashida Tlaib, Representative Ayanna Pressley, and all the other squad members who dare mention any kind of crimes against humanity that the Israeli occupation is currently doing, any kind of bulldozing of homes, shooting of 13-year-old children, like any brutalizing people in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Like, this is where we are, and it's so fitting that Cuomo is the guy. And if you need to know how bad faith the Israeli lobby is, look no further than this fucking thing, than Andrew Cuomo. This is as if Tucker Carlson started a chapter of white allies with the Nation of Islam. Like, that's what it is. Like, it's so bad faith. You don't believe anything. I'm a white ally with the Nation of Islam. What are you talking about? What is this? So anyway, I think this is very funny to me because it's a little bit of a, like, it's like his Vegas residency. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like politicians who are disgraced get Israeli lobby money, and then they're like reanimated and they have to like do the whole thing. That being said, I do think, speaking of Vegas residencies, we should put Andrew Cuomo in some kind of conservatorship the way Brittany was put in one. And I feel like he should just do like magic tricks with his big Italian hands in Vegas and keep him far, far away from fucking politics. Andrew Cuomo is not a progressive. Andrew Cuomo spent his entire time in office fighting leftists and the Working Families Party and cutting deals with Republicans. And now he wants to moonlight as a progressive? Fuck out of here. Anyway, they'll be buying a bunch of attack ads on Summer Lee, I'm sure, in the next election cycle. But with that, I'm going to bring in my comedian guest for the rest of the show as we do this sort of ass backwards version of the Bitchuation Room. She's a stand-up comic who you've seen on Conan or on Comedy Central. She also hosts the podcast I Love a Lifetime Movie, where she talks all about Lifetime movies. Please welcome Megan Gailey.
Hi, Francesca.
Hi, Megan.
I did not like seeing his little manicotti fingers. Like, they moved in a way that was like real. I don't know if you need to hit every syllable when you do that, but those are my notes about, you know, the acting in it and not the platform.
Totally. Also, like, weird hostage like video, bro.
It's like, Hun, I'm gonna call him Hun because I think he'd call me Hun. I'm at an Airbnb and I've got a better setup. You know, like, why are you in a conference room back, like, hallway? I loved it. I think he's maybe moonlighting as a cater waiter. When I saw he was like, okay, I take the suit off, I still got my white shirt, and then we bring out the salad.
Megan, we start the show, or we're in the middle of the show, but we start
Yes.
it. We open with what our guests are bitching about. So today, on Tuesday, March 14th, what are you bitching about?
This is going to be unpopular. I despise pickleball. It is sweeping the nation. And I'm not saying that, like, I am talking to the able-bodied of our culture. Pick up a fucking tennis racket like a grown-up, okay? So it's just like, what are we? Pickleball has taken over everything. My parents, yes, it is for 67-year-olds. That is the correct demo. Okay,
it sounds like it. It sounds like something Joe Biden plays.
Yes, and it's perfect for him, not Joe Biden's grandchildren, okay? Like, we need to be doing things that are, like, tennis isn't even that difficult. You don't even need to run that much. Like, I played tennis my whole life. I despise running. So it's like, but pickleball has taken over tennis courts. It's also really loud. It's like so loud. I take my son to story time at a public library. It's so sweet and so wonderful. The entire parking lot is filled with pickleball players. And it's like, no, this is not your parking lot. This is fucked up.
So what is it? There's a net and is it like
smaller,
badminton?
It's like, it's on a tennis court, which it's like, get your own court. First of all, you can't just be like, oh, this is basketball ball on a basketball court. It's like, no, that you can't steal someone else's place where they play.
Yeah.
So they've taken tennis courts and then they shrink them. So it's like, you can have 2 pickleball. I think you can have 4 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court. It's basically tennis and ping pong and badminton combined into one. But like all of those were good.
Right. But
we
that's
didn't
what they're
need
doing.
another thing. We didn't need another thing. Old people did. And I say, okay, if you qualify for AARP, pickleball's for you. If you are under that and wiping yourself front to back, you need to find a different hobby.
Sounds like the Foursquare of racquetball, like racket games, where I don't know, it's like small. It also sounds like you need like special shorts to wear it. I have no idea what it looks like.
You need a special like mallet. I just
separate.
I hate it.
Sounds
so
like
much.
it's a thing that's gonna like Matt's gonna pick up my husband, and then it's gonna end what I call our garage, which he hates. What I call the garage, which is the Hall of Forgotten Hobbies.
Oh wow. Yeah.
He's like, he gets that real mad. He's like, I'm gonna play golf again. I'm like, are you though?
And hobbies take up a lot of space. I guess in pickleball's defense, it's just a small little thing, but it's taking over tennis's space.
There you go. Exactly.
And I just can't. I can't stand for it anymore.
I like this. All right. Well, let's get into the week. I do not have a roundup for y'all because I'll get back into it. But we have 2 main stories. A lot happened. These are the ones I picked. This is the week where. So this is the week where we wait on bated breath to see if the former president will be indicted on criminal charges for paying off a porn star to keep quiet about her affair with him. The Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is going to probably ask the grand jury to indict Donald Trump in the coming weeks. This week, maybe. We're going to see what actual charges will be brought. However, this is one of many cases, but we'll go into why we think that indictments is coming and what kind of charges will be brought. We think it's coming because Michael Cohen, former fixer who basically did this deal with Stormy Daniels, who worked for Trump, is expected to testify before a Manhattan grand jury next week. That is this week. In fact, that was yesterday. A sign that prosecutors are poised to indict the former president for his role in paying hush money to a porn star, according to the matter. So it's a strong indication. Such offers almost always indicate the indictment is close. Also, Trump has been offered to testify before the grand jury, and he could do so this week, but my guess is that's not gonna happen.
No, he's like, it's spring break at Mar-a-Lago, so I'm just gonna stay down here, see if I can see any new boob jobs. Honestly, when you sent this, I thought maybe it was the Georgia case. Like, I'm starting to get all of the case. It's going to be death by 1,000 sporks. Like, it really is. It's truly, it feels like Gotti and the taxes. Like, yes, of course, an indictment. And yes, for our beloved Stormy, I want it. But this thing won't go away. I mean, this was happening. I feel like this was a story pre him being elected.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's actually don't really know. I can't remember the timeline because the only thing that I do remember before, obviously, is the grab him by the pussy tape, which happened the morning before. Oh, conveniently, DNC email leaks. But I think it was in his first few months.
Yes.
Here's my problem with the entire story, and we'll talk about what the charges could be. But my problem with it is $130,000, Megan. That's how much she was bought off for. 130. Now I get it. You'd probably have to pay me nothing to keep my mouth shut if I ever had a one-night stand with someone as disgusting as Donald Trump.
I've gotten a club sandwich and a pat on the head. So, like, I'm honestly. Well, and I guess this is the issue because he didn't have the money. Like, I'm shocked he even had that cash, but it's because he stole it from his campaign. So it's like, I bet Stormy was like, he has 130 grand. Okay, take it. Done. I'm not even countering. Like, my agents say, take it and run, cash the check immediately.
Exactly. Absolutely. Western Union now. No, the good point. Good point. I'm just like, he's totally worth more. And to be silent on that, this is like while he was whatever, Melania was pregnant. I don't actually give a shit about that. What's
No,
up,
he
Baron?
didn't even know. He probably didn't even know she was pregnant.
Of course not.
We don't know that he's the father. And I say that about my own child. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, like, I believe him to be the father, but it's a lot of different. Once you realize that Mary was artificially inseminated by God, it's like a lot of options open up. I hope he's indicted. I don't know. It's like, I hope this isn't just the only one. Like, if it's going to be this one, like, can we just have them all too? Like, yes, he did try and steal the election in Georgia. So, like, let's get that one on the books. Like,
yes.
I would truly like it to be just a smattering up and down the East Coast of, like, you can do a road trip of states that he's been indicted in.
Right.
Because
there'd be it can
like
be
a bar crawl.
A little too a bar crawl, but of states that Trump's have been indicted in.
Absolutely.
But let's get into what it could be, because what is illegal about this? So the prosecutors have zeroed in on whether Trump and his company falsified internal records to hide that reimbursement to Mr. Cohen, the reimbursement, the $130,000 that he paid to Stormy Daniels, and hid it from the voting public.
Yes.
In New York, it can be a crime to falsify business records, but it amounts to a misdemeanor. To elevate it to a felony, prosecutors would need to show that Mr. Trump's intent to defraud included an intent to commit or conceal a second crime, which is like, what do you mean the second crime of continuing to rob your supporters blind? Like,
right. Where, like, he's dumb that I'm like, oh, I bet he thought he was allowed to do this. So, like, that second one, like, the malicious intent, his whole life is malicious intent. Like, let's just go back to the day of his birth and go, okay, can we use that? But it's like, he's so stupid that I bet he's like, yeah, Reagan paid off a porn star.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason you have campaign money. Like,
I believe the quote is, when you're famous, they let you do anything.
Exactly. And I mean, like, in that snippet, he's actually not that wrong.
No.
So it just, a misdemeanor is like, I'm not going to be able to even.
I just don't like that if he was convicted of that, a misdemeanor, like if you're a convicted felon, that just sounds like there's something robust about it. But what are you convicted like misdemeanor or like a misdemizer? Like there's no, and also it's the level of like not an unpaid parking ticket, driving with a suspended license.
And like, for all of this, for these years we're talking about, it is, I guess, I feel like one of the stupidest things he did was to turn on Michael Cohen. I know he probably felt like he had to, because it was like, I got to throw somebody under the bus. But like, the person who's your fixer, you ride with them till the end. Like, he has clearly never watched a Real Housewives season. Like, if someone has your dirt, you are like, no, that's my ride or die. That's my best friend. No, I think her hair looks great. Like, you just have to, like Michael Cohen should have been vice president. Like, he should have just given him whatever he wanted. It's like, you can't send your personal attorney to jail.
No. Not at all. And not only that, but let us remember that currently Alan Weisselberg, the CFO of the Trump organization, former CFO, is in Rikers right now. Like, what are we talking about? So this is the thing with so if all these fools have gone to prison, and by the way, max prison time, if you were convicted, I think of the felony, it's max prison time is 4 years, but prison time is mandatory if he is convicted. So here we have indictment, obviously, then there's the conviction, and then there's the sentencing. I believe that's how the legal system works.
Yes. But it takes a while. It takes a while.
It takes a very long time. So yeah, only 4 years, which I feel like, if he made us like call him president for 4 years.
Yeah, it's kind of a good trade. I think like it's shocking to me he's still alive. But now I'm like imagining him, and they're not letting him have his hair and makeup person. And so like that might be worth it just to see what's going on, like what Orange is the New Black sort of eyebrows are actually peeking underneath all that.
There's like out on the like in whatever, like the gym area or something, there's like a little bit of like some kind of
Clay.
Clay. Thank you. There's like some clay out there that they like are repurposing to like bronze him a little bit.
It's so funny, Francesca, because I can tell we're both have children, like babies.
My
because
mom
it's like
brain.
words. I'm like, where is the word? Like I go, what's that thing that cars park on outside of a house? And like a driveway. I'm like, yeah, that's it, a driveway.
There you
like
go.
you just truly lose whole chunks.
My thing is like, do I sound as inarticulate as I
You
feel?
don't.
But
I couldn't have even. But we are like two peas in a pod right now, where it's like we're not finishing each other's sentences. I just have the words that you've lost, and you have the words that I've lost, and together we make one brain.
Thank you. That's why I have you on. I need you. God damn it. All right. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, Trump, is on Truth Social, saying he did nothing wrong. I never had an affair with Stormy Daniels, nor would I have wanted to have an affair. Yes, you did want to have an affair with Stormy Daniels.
That's not what this is about. Like, that's so funny that he's like, I didn't have sex with her. And it's like, we've established you did, actually. And you think she wants to say she's had sex with you? That's the worst thing she could ever admit on earth. And she's willing to admit it. So like, it did happen, dog.
So relatable too. Like her, like, just her account of like how disgusting the dick ups are.
Yes.
That's just like,
absolutely.
Dude, we've all been there where you build something up in your mind maybe, and then when push comes to shove, it's disgusting. But I guess I could have told you that. Anyway, he calls her Horseface Daniels. Like, oh, come on. Horseface Daniels. No, I love Stormy. I follow her on all the things. I
love
Stormy. Wish
Stormy.
Nothing but greatness for her.
I'm glad Avenatti's gone.
Oh God.
He was in that Pepsi doc. Did you see him in the Pepsi documentary?
No.
Oh God, he tried to help get the guy's plane. He's a mess. No, I justice for Stormy. I want Stormy to get more money.
Absolutely. Agreed. All right, we got to move on to our next story. This was the week where we once again affirmed that Republicans' anti-gay crusade is mostly just an effort to prevent themselves from their own temptations and living their own goddamn truth. And also, it's sort of been a lesson in, Republicans not understanding how social media works, and that we can see you, Grandpa. We can see what you like. This story is like somehow better than the Ted Cruz story where he liked a like hardcore porn video on 9/11, which I'd forgot the 9/11 part of it, which I think is a very funny date to jack off. But the man in question we're talking about is Lieutenant Governor of Tennessee, Randy McNally. Randy, good old Randy McNally. Turns out he's been liking and commenting on a young gay influencer's semi-nude and or very nude photos. Gonna show you a couple of them. So here he is. Yes, showing us his booty. And Lieutenant and Governor McNally with the blue check mark saying, Finn, you can turn a rainy day into rainbows and sunshine. Which is, again, I was a very funny Southern way of like catcalling someone. There he is saying 3 hearts and 3 flame emojis. And Franklin Superstar, who is this young influencer, says, "You are literally always so nice, King." And then Lieutenant Governor replies with 3 eye hearts.
It's actually a really sweet correspondence. Like if he wasn't a hateful homophobe, you go, this is really lovely. Like because like you have reply guys. Look at you. I have reply guys. Some of them you're like, yeah. One of them reached out to me the day I gave birth and was like, would you be willing to send photos of when your milk comes in?
Stop, guy. I mean, so okay.
And that was Brett Kavanaugh. No, it was not. It was just some random man. And I was like, thank you so much for asking. I'm not going to be able to do that, but I do appreciate the inquiry.
But like, I would have been like, okay, but like, how much though?
How much? I truly was like, thank you for reaching out.
But this is what I'm saying about, okay, so yes, this is a story of a homophobe. We'll talk about what he legislates against, who also has been liking a clearly gay influencer's, naked photos.
And it seems like they have some sort of online relationship.
They have some sort of relationship.
You're always so nice, King. Like,
So put a pin in that. But I think more broadly, what your also comment speaks to is like men online just shooting their shot.
Yeah.
When no one needed to shoot a shot. You didn't need to say anything. You didn't need to do anything. You probably should have double checked whether you were, commenting under your official handle. But also like, what was the best case scenario, Randy? What do you expect was going to happen? Sir, who asked Megan to send photos of her milk coming, what did you think she was going to say? Yeah.
Best case scenario was yes. Here's the thing with and you hear shoot your shot as a metaphor all the time. That's in reference to shooting a basketball at a backboard, at a basketball hoop. Well, in this case, the basketball hoop is a person. And I actually do not want basketballs thrown at me. So it's like the metaphor, it doesn't work because it's like shooting your paintball shot at their head, maybe, but like you can't just practice on women and people and Finn, even though Finn, I think money exchange hands there because it's like, you are always literally so kind. It's like, he is Venmoing him. He is Zelling him. And,
So this is a question. Okay, so a little bit of info on McNally, right? Randy McNally, while with Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally as its speaker, Tennessee Senate has advanced and passed bans this year on gender-affirming care for transgender youth and restrictions on where certain drag shows can take place. So, utter hypocrite if he is in fact either gay or likes gay performers or whatever it is. Here's Randy McNally, though, on local news, which, God damn it, please don't copyright strike this. Replying to why he sent those messages. Why did he comment? Here he is.
Try to encourage people with posts and try to, help them.
I mean, he's like, I'm caught. Oh, like, help me. I don't know if you saw SNL this past weekend. Molly Kearney did an incredible Randy on Weekend Update.
Yes. Loved
their portrayal of him. The thing that sucks is that we all know they're hypocrites. The Herschel Walker of it all, of having paid for abortions and being anti-abortion. So it's like we see this in every single one of them is a hypocrite. And like humans are hypocrites. That's just sort of, it's like, do as I say, not as I do. Oh, it's okay for that person. They're fun. Like we all do make exceptions, but when it comes to Republican lawmakers, their hypocrisy goes into limiting rights of people. So it's not just as silly as like, no, you can't sit with me. It doesn't, what does this matter to the people of Tennessee who voted for him? Nothing. No one is not going to vote for him over this. And maybe there'll be 5 people, but it's like, he's got a crew that rides for him. And it doesn't even matter that he was fully caught red-handed. If anything, it would be better for him to just be like, yes, I like to look at pictures of men. Yeah. I'm married to a woman, but yes, I have sexual fantasies about men. Like he'd probably even pick up some Democrat votes. Like we would just be like, oh, that's at least honest. But they just double down in their hypocrisy and they pay no price for it. And it's so infuriating. So we're going to continue to have these gotchas. Yeah. And the gotchas only get bigger and more.
It's endless gotchas. And like, this is like one of the very, very lightweight. I want to
this
go
one's
to
like fun
what
and sweet. There's no victim.
exactly.
Finn
This
is
isn't
obviously
like
loves his fan. Did you see him? Did you see the guy on the news? I actually don't know if he
okay. So his name is
identifies as
Franklin McClure, which I have
Yes.
a problem with this whole story because what is a better name for like a twink influencer online? Randy McNally or Franklin McClure? Like
Probably
they
Randy.
need exactly. They should be switched. Franklin should be lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
The names, and then Randy McNally should be that's his
I'll
right
take you
handle.
one further. I think Franklin, the hot twink, should be lieutenant governor. I would love to see the policies he puts into place. So he did a news interview shirtless, just on a porch shirtless, and I go, get your 15 minutes, okay? Like he is so hot and he is working it, and he's like, yeah, we're friends. I don't like it's just like I don't get why he's saying that we're not friends anymore.
He said, okay, so he says that for a few years the lieutenant governor had been commenting on his post, but that he'd never met him, that no money exchanged hands, no Zelle. But the best is he says, referring to the comments, this is from an interview with The Cut, from McNally, when McNally first started coming in when he was 17. McClure says, I didn't even know what a damn lieutenant governor was. I was thinking it's kind of random, but I'm grateful that someone's being nice to me. You could look at a heart emoji and think someone's telling you that they have a crush on you, I guess, but it's also valid for someone to just be saying you're pretty or you look good. Randy never asked me for nudes. He never asked me to date. I really don't have to be angry about anything to be angry about. So there's that. Here's another little fun moment though, because Franklin, oh, now I'm getting him confused. In his bio says, I'm not a whore, I'm a hoe. There's a difference. One is a slut, the other's a prostitute. I'm the one that gets free weed for giving head.
Yes. And is a musician. That's a revelation.
There you go. Exactly. So know the difference, but then also here was McNally's response to that that part of his bio.
I don't know that, a lot of times on people's posts, you see the name and you see what they've written and you just press the button that says like.
So you didn't read that post?
I don't recall reading the part about the weed. I know that.
The weed is the thing to take issue with.
So I didn't know that was an option.
I would just like to know, how do you get a chin like that without smoking weed? Like, if that chin doesn't say munchies, then I don't know what does.
If a woman could ever run for office and win looking that heinous. Like, it's so unfair what we do to women in this country and the bars that we set for them to like just be in public, just go out. And yet motherfuckers are running around looking like a Star Wars character. Like,
I'm sure he's on multiple billboards and is like, yeah, look good. Franklin likes it.
Franklin loves it. So anyway, it's just very fun. The last thing is Franklin has some advice for Randy. He says, if he got a chance to speak to him, he would say, girl, who would have known this would happen? Also, are you okay? I'd probably ask him that because he's 79. So, life expectancy. He says he'd also probably bring up the drag bill. Taking away someone's way of expressing themselves, he tells me, is evil, but he's trying to take the high road. I have compassion for everyone because I know how it feels to be hated on. Later that evening, this is fun, McNally DM'd him again saying, thank you, Finn. I appreciate your truthfulness. And if you ever need anything, let me know.
He needs you to not outlaw drag races. That's what you need.
End of story. Stop being a hypocrite. Lead the charge.
I said drag races. I meant drag shows.
I wasn't even going to correct you.
I know. I was thinking, I'm a huge drag race fan. And so I don't even like, I in my mind, I was like, oh, I guess drag races are when you race cars, but like, who does that? Like, let's actually outlaw those.
That's funny. I just remembered what drag races were. Cause drag races are now forever.
They're done.
Yeah, that's
no, over. I know people still do them and people die. So we do need to outlaw drag races, not drag shows.
All right. Well, anyway, I guess God bless. I don't know. No, fuck that. I'm so annoyed that we have to even like point out this hypocrisy because you're right. It's like you know, I talked about on the show Matt Schlapp of CPAC, who like was fondling a fucking staffer and a young man, and he's still in power. He's nothing. You got like his wife on Twitter getting mad at Jane Fonda, who we're gonna talk about very soon. It's like, bitch, you have no leg to stand on. You guys are insane, and it really is. It is the party of we can be open hypocrites and do whatever we want. That's all we are.
Bobert becoming a grandmother at 36 and not believing in sex education in schools.
She's 15. This girl's 15. Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I believe her son's 17 and this girl is 15. Ugh. All right. We've got one more segment. Because this was the week where Jane Fonda, in all of her Jane Fonda-ness, went on to The View and made a joke that honestly, I think we've all made. I've definitely made it on this show. And let's take a look, and then we're going to play a little PR cleanup on this. Hear what she was making a joke, but was it about what to do with women's rights being taken away, if not protest and organize, etc.
We have experienced many decades now of having agency over our body, of being able to determine when and how many children to have. We know what that feels like. We know what that's done for our lives. We're not going back. I don't care what the laws are. We're not going back.
I think the women will rise up.
That's the activist.
That's Jane
speaking, and she probably will get a Nobel Prize.
But it's the truth.
Very soon.
It is the truth. We're not going to do it.
Besides marching and protesting, what else do you suggest?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say?
Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just kidding.
Don't say that. That's
you don't know. They'll pick up on that and just run with it.
The worst.
She's just kidding.
Well, let me talk to you about. Let's move on and talk about Jane's activism, which is legendary.
Yes. I love this. The best part about that clip is Jane Fonda's her face afterwards. She's just kidding.
I love Lily Tomlin being like, "What'd you just say?"
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone's kind of stepped on the joke and or people were talking over it, and she was like, "Hang on, what?" Because there was a moment there. Here's the setup for me. Joy Behar is basically like, okay, but if you protest and you organize and you elect the right officials and you do this and that and it still doesn't work, what else is there? Like, that's kind of what she was saying. She was like, what else beyond,
Right, there is she sort of led her down the path.
She really did. And anyway, yes, it was a clear joke. Okay, but of course the right's freaking out about it.
Who cares?
Fuck
them.
Yeah. Obviously, but so
what are they going to do? Are they going to take away 80 for Brady? No, it's already out and it's a masterpiece. Okay, so you're going to boycott Grace and Frankie? It's over. What do you want to take from this 85-year-old woman? You want her to say she was kidding? She's not going to do that. She doesn't give a fuck about you. She's never liked you. She thinks you're all trash. And honestly, what's the big deal? These are words. Remember, people can say whatever they want. It doesn't matter. And when you get to be 85, if you don't make a joke or a non-joke about killing someone, you're not really 85.
First of all, this segment was called PR Cleanup, where we pretend to be PR people. But that to me is the best defense of these comments. I was going to be like, well, what she meant to say was, we murder them with the truth. And they will die from the weight of facts, which are on our side. When they go low, we go high. A great woman once said that. And we've been trying that for a really long time, and it's not working.
Yeah, I just if I was her PR person, I would say Jane Fonda will apologize when Kyle Rittenhouse does.
Or when Brett fucking Kavanaugh does. So she did have a statement which was effectively, I was joking. It was clearly a joke. Why is the focus on me when the focus should be on women who are dying because they can't access abortion care? End of story. And that's exactly right. That's what the right wants to do. They want to focus on the words and the freak out and not what's actually happening. It's like Kathy Griffin when fucking kids were being... Yeah, the bloody head, and children were being separated from their families at the border, and put in cages.
No, they love to clutch their pearls that are like soaked in the blood of people they've murdered. Like, it's like, yeah, no, you're the murderers. And then you're like, but it was really, I really would love to be on The View. I'm going to put this out there. I would love to be a host on The View. I would love to be, I would love to be, whenever Joy decides that she needs to, I don't know, buy a baseball team or something. I would love to take her seat, because I don't like, and I get Sunny needs to pivot, but it's like, personally, I don't think what she said is bad.
No, but see, that's the thing, is it's not safe for daytime television. And this is why,
of course not.
But it's also what makes it interesting. Like, oh God, I once went to a taping of The View because I thought it would be funny, ironically. By the way, I'm sure you've been to tapings. You cannot go to a taping ironically. That is not a thing that you can do, because they make you clap and laugh like a monkey.
Yeah.
And there's and not pee, and you have to stay there. And it was just like, it was torturous. I was like, oh, I thought this would be funny and ironic. We could just make fun of it. No, or anyone else want to make fun of this? No. Oh shit, we all believe this. Fuck. But anyone edgy gets thrown off. That Michelle Collins,
I know,
taken off The View.
Funny.
So funny and so good. But I want to put that out there for you as well, because it's also like they get so like, oh, don't say that, because then they're gonna clip it. It's like, why are you already scared about it?
But like, who cares? Like, what are you taking from Jane Fonda? There's nothing to take. Like, she's Jane Fonda. She is so iconic. So that what, they're not going to let her present at the Academy Awards? She'll probably be like, great, I don't want to fucking go anyways.
Exactly. But
like, she does whatever she wants. She's above. She's so above it all.
Absolutely. And one of the things that she wants, one of the things that she did was, during the anti-Vietnam War movement and during the war, she was basically posed with the Viet Cong, and was then got the name Hanoi Jane, which if you see that around, people saying Hanoi Jane, it's because that's what the right labeled her as. But back then, when the Viet Cong were actually winning and everyone was effectively on their side, because they were like, yo, this is their country. It sounds like it's their movement. It sounds like they want this. Maybe we should stay the fuck out of this internal civil war. Like, again, it was very different times. The Vietnam War had been dragging on. Americans were coming home in body bags. And she went and like had the audacity to pose and like, chill with the so-called enemy. Were actually turning on that. Like, they didn't see them as the enemy. At least average Americans didn't necessarily see them as the enemy. They were like, why? I don't understand that. So anyway, talk about never ever giving a fuck about what people say and do. And also not having blood on her hands, not
helping in the trenches, doing real work, and then also making brilliant art at the same time. Have you seen 80 for Brady? I loved it. And she's just, we should all aspire to be that way,
Yes, a patron, I believe, Urban Hermit, mentioned Barbarella. I did a live commentary of that movie, and like, never has there been someone more fucking perfect on television. I'm out on the screen. Like, her body is amazing. Jane Fonda and Barbarella, you're like, holy shit. It's like when Kim Basinger was in 9.5 Weeks. You're like, oh my God, you are the top.
And like, I honestly think she's still making things so she can still be an activist. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, Hollywood needs you to like be semi-relevant if we're going to listen to anything you say. So she's like, okay, I'll make a Netflix show with my best friend so I can go out and try and make it so women don't die. I think them coming after her is elder abuse. So maybe they should apologize.
What do you think about Shailene Woodley and all that?
What's her ass doing?
You know how she was she was like dating Aaron Rodgers, and then he got outed for being an anti-vaxxer, and Shailene was like kind of dope. She like went to Standing Rock, and
it just wasn't a real relationship.
There we go.
They were never, they're not real. None of his relationships are real. So like, good for her, but also like, she was in that relationship to get something out of it. So, and then was like, oh no, my fake relationship is with a guy I don't like. So it's like, okay, girl.
The reason I'm asking Megan is because, Megan, do you currently have a podcast, a sports podcast? Or
I do have it's called Megan Fun of Sports. I'm the most over Aaron Rodgers right now. Truly, I called him the most boring housewife of all time. Like, I'm like, we live in LA. You don't think I hear about people doing ayahuasca enough? Like, shut up, pick a team and get out of my life. So yes, you can hear fun takes like that.
What if I know nothing about sports? Can I still listen?
Absolutely, because we are telling who is hot Jimmy Garoppolo. We are covering wives and children. Like March Madness is coming up and everybody fills out a bracket, whether you know what's going on or not. And the brackets that always do the best are just like, I like purple. And then you ride purple till the end. And you're like, well, I guess Kansas State is in the Final Four. Like
I can't find it within me to care about.
You don't have to.
College.
No.
College basketball?
No, yeah, so it is college basketball. The tides are turning. The NCAA, one of the most evil organizations in the country, has lost all of their power,
right?
And are basically nothing now, a shell of what they used to be. So that's very exciting. And college players are finally going to start being paid for their name, image, and likeness. And so there is some to celebrate. What is really heartwarming and tough about March Madness, these are like children. And so you will see a 19-year-old boy crying and be moved the most you've ever been moved, but you'll also see celebrating. And, at the end of the day, they just get the team together and go to a Ruby Tuesday after. And that's really what keeps me in it. Just like, oh, I know they're going to have a salad bar and some laughs.
That's a great sell. Megan Gailey, thank you so much for being on this show. Everybody, where can we follow you? And beyond the Megan Fun of Sports, what we've got? Everybody Loves a Lifetime movie.
Yes, a lot of podcasts. I'm a podcast queen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My husband says I am the LeBron of podcasts, as in I do a lot of them, but not great results. So a lot of minutes. Points are falling down. Yes, my handle is at Megan Gailey on Twitter, at Better Megan Gailey on Instagram. There was a Megan Gailey. I did need to teach her a lesson. And I Love a Lifetime movie, Megan Fun of Sports, and come out and see live comedy. It's really fun.
Yes, go see Megan wherever you can. And thank you so much for being on the show. Take very good care of yourself. And all y'all in the comments, thank you so much for being here. This was... God, what a great show. I'm beside myself with how fucking good the show was. I mean, honestly, if this doesn't make you a patron yet, I don't know what will. But I do want to thank all the new members on YouTube. We've got Hayden Campmere. Thanks so much. Todd Roy, of course, thank you so much. Lash of Ninetail got my Franny Pack sub for Antifa. Does that mean you're part of the Patreon? I mean. Rar Bear Dragon, let's do this summer. I'm 100% with you. Shout out to Representative Lee. I'm the Progressive Carpenter on Twitch. I'm in Pittsburgh and want to organize. I will be checking out their website to get involved. Please do. Gary Cooper on YouTube. Cuomo, let's make a deal. I'll denounce anti-Semitism, as I have before, if you'll denounce Israel's genocidal treatment of occupied Palestinians. What about Palestinians' right to defend themselves? Anyone want to stand up for that? No, that's what I thought. Dory B said, damn, this is bad, in reference to Cuomo. The current government is total shit. I'm a Jew. I know. I also have a rabbi who hates Netanyahu with a passion. So many do. Yeah, I don't even... Anyway. Tooled for Twitch says, reading is more athletic than pickleball. Michael Gonzalez on YouTube. It probably wasn't even a check. He probably tried paying Stormy and Trump stakes. He was like, they're vouchers. It's a Costco card, in fact. Just old steak. Hef, thank you for your super chat. Fran has agency over my body. Gross, but thank you for your super chat. And the Groove Dragon on YouTube. The irony does not escape me. Pro-lifers have murdered doctors and bombed clinics. Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to have fun with it, but at the end of the day, it's enraging. And we don't want you to, ostracize or discipline. I don't know, maybe a little bit of discipline, but set these politicians out to drift because they are gay or they like gay photos, even though honestly, that's probably not what you should be doing as lieutenant governor. But then fucking be human. Then what are you doing actually? Like, why are are you just the party of repressed, sad men? And so much in this world, back to my pitch for matriarchy, so much in this world would be better if men, number one, were not in charge, but number two, if they lived their goddamn truths, if they went to therapy and they lived their fucking truth. You and your wife will still be friends. Anyway, sorry, I lost all my people. But anyway, thank you guys so much. With that, let's thank the new patrons, $10 or more, with the shout out, all the tippers, all the people. No big tippers, but with the fart song. Hell yeah. Twitch. I already shouted out Paper Dragon Art and Firestarter Dragon Joe. We also have Jessica Russell. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. Olavoy, thank you for becoming a patron at $10 or more. And Bianca Rosario, thank you as well. No big tippers, but if you want to tip the show, TBR-Live on Venmo, TBR Live on Cash App. Again, thank you for all of our new patrons. Even at the $5 level, you guys are great. Thank you to Paige Oamek, Maximillien Inhoff, to Andy Vasoyan. We stream every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. And Fridays for the bonus fish at the same time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Follow the show on Twitter, Bitchuation Pod, TikTok, and Instagram at FrannyFio. And remember, y'all, fight the power, fuck the patriarchy, and don't just bitch about it. Be about it. Love you. Bye.